Most men today live with a silent suspicion that they are not who they could be. They wake up, look in the mirror, and see someone familiar, someone acceptable, someone functional. But beneath that surface, there is a quiet whisper, a persistent doubt that asks the same question every single day. Is this all I am? They go to work, they come home, they scroll through their phones, and they feel a strange emptiness that no distraction can fill. It is not depression exactly. It is not even unhappiness in the traditional sense. It is something far more insidious. It is the slow realization that they have stopped believing in their own potential. They have given up on the person they once imagined they could become. I see this everywhere I go. I see it in the eyes of men who have achieved what society calls success, but still feel incomplete. I see it in the posture of young people who have all the opportunities in the world, but no faith in themselves. I see it in conversations that never go deep, in dreams that are never spoken out loud, in ambitions that are quietly buried under layers of practicality and fear. And what disturbs me most is not that people fail. Failure is part of growth. What disturbs me is that so many people never even try. They never take the leap. They never test themselves. They never force themselves to confront the gap between who they are and who they could be. They settle. They rationalize. They convince themselves that safety is wisdom and that dreaming is naive. But here is what I have learned after decades of studying human behavior, after working with thousands of people from every walk of life, after watching some rise and others collapse under their own potential. The single greatest obstacle to success is not lack of talent, not lack of opportunity, not even lack of resources. The greatest obstacle is lack of self-trust. It is the inability to believe, truly believe, that you are capable of becoming more than you currently are. And this lack of belief does not come from nowhere. It is built, brick, by every time you quit when things got hard, every time you listened to someone who doubted you, every time you chose comfort over growth, every time you looked at your own reflection and decided that this version of yourself was good enough. I, Carnegie, have spent my life teaching people how to win friends, how to influence others, how to lead with integrity and conviction. But before any of that can happen, there is a prerequisite that most people ignore. You must first learn to trust yourself, not the self you see in the mirror today, but the self you could become if you stopped betraying your own potential. And I use that word carefully, betrayal, because that is what it is every time you make a promise to yourself and break it, every time you set a goal and abandon it, every time you know what you should do but choose the easier path. You are betraying the person you could become, and over time, that betrayal compounds. It builds a wall between you and your future. It creates a deep internalized belief that you cannot be trusted, that your word means nothing, that your dreams are just fantasies. And the worst part? Society encourages this. The modern world is designed to keep you comfortable, distracted, and docile. It offers you endless entertainment, endless validation from strangers on the internet, endless reasons to believe that you are fine just the way you are. Do not change, it whispers. Do not push yourself. Do not risk failure. Stay safe. Stay small. Stay manageable. And millions of people listen. They listen because it feels easier. They listen because the alternative of actually demanding more from themselves, of actually forcing themselves to grow, is terrifying. It means confronting their own mediocrity. It means admitting that they have been living below their potential. It means accepting that the life they have built, while comfortable, is not the life they were meant to live. But comfort is not peace. Comfort is not fulfillment. Comfort is just the absence of pain, and a life built on avoiding pain is not a life, it is a slow death. And deep down, you know this. You feel it when you lie in bed at night and your mind races with all the things you did not do, all the words you did not say, all the risks you did not take. You feel it when you see someone else succeed and you tell yourself, it is luck, it is privilege, it is timing, because admitting that they simply believed in themselves more than you believe in yourself is too painful. You feel it when you look at your children, or your younger siblings, or anyone who still has hope in their eyes, and you wonder if they will end up like you. Stuck, comfortable, unfulfilled. Now let me be clear about something. I am not talking about some mystical, abstract concept of self-belief. I am not talking about affirmations or positive thinking or any of that surface-level nonsense that the self-help industry loves to sell. I'm talking about something far deeper and far more difficult. I am talking about earned self-trust. I'm talking about the kind of confidence that comes not from telling yourself you are great, but from proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that you can keep your word, that you can endure discomfort, that you can grow. Most people think confidence is something you either have or you do not. They see someone who is successful, who speaks with authority, who seems unshakable, and they assume that person was born that way. But that is a lie. Confidence is not a personality trait, it is a skill. It is built through repetition, through small acts of courage, through forcing yourself to do the things you are afraid of and surviving them. Every time you do something hard and follow through, you are depositing into a mental account. You are building proof, evidence that you are capable. And over time, that proof becomes unshakable. It becomes a core part of your identity. But here is the problem. Most people never make those deposits. They avoid hard things. They quit when it gets uncomfortable. They make excuses. And then they wonder why they do not believe in themselves. They wonder why they feel stuck. They wonder why life feels so heavy. Let me tell you something that might sound harsh, but it is the truth. You are not stuck because life is hard. You are stuck because you have convinced yourself that you cannot handle hard things. You have convinced yourself that discomfort is a signal to stop, that struggle is a sign of failure, that if something does not come easy, it is not meant for you. And that belief, that single belief, is keeping you trapped. Because growth, real growth, only happens outside your comfort zone. It only happens when you are forced to confront your own limitations. It only happens when you stop running from difficulty and start running toward it. I have seen this pattern over and over again. A person has a goal. They want to start a business. They want to get in shape. They want to improve their relationships. They want to develop a new skill. And at first, they are excited. They are motivated. They tell themselves, this time will be different. But then, inevitably, life gets hard. The business does not take off immediately. The workouts hurt. The relationship requires difficult conversations. The skill takes longer to develop than they thought. And what do? They quit. They tell themselves it was not meant to be. They tell themselves they gave it a shot. They tell themselves they will try again later. But they never do. Because the pattern repeats, the cycle continues, and every time it happens, their self-trust erodes a little more. Now, contrast that with someone who forces themselves to keep going. Someone who does not quit when it gets hard. Someone who shows up even when they do not feel like it. Someone who keeps their promises to themselves even when no one else is watching. What happens to that person? They start to change. Not overnight, not dramatically, but slowly, steadily. They start to see themselves differently. They start to trust themselves. They start to believe deep in their bones that they are capable of more. And that belief changes everything. It changes how they walk into a room. It changes how they speak. It changes how they handle setbacks. It changes how they see the world. Because when you trust yourself, you stop being afraid of failure. You stop needing validation from others. You stop waiting for permission. You become, in the truest sense, free. But here is what most people do not understand. Self-trust is not something you can think your way into. You cannot just decide one day that you believe in yourself and expect it to stick. Self-trust is built through action, through repetition, through showing yourself, over and over again, that you can do what you say you will do. And that means you have to start small. You have to start with promises you can actually keep. Because if you try to overhaul your entire life overnight, you will fail. And that failure will reinforce the very belief you are trying to escape. So you start with one thing. One small, manageable commitment. Maybe it is waking up at a certain time every day. Maybe it is reading for 10 minutes before bed. Maybe it is going to the gym 3 times a week. Maybe it is writing for 15 minutes every morning. It does not matter what it is. What matters is that you do it, consistently, without exception, without negotiation, Because every time you follow through, you are proving to yourself that your word means something. You are building evidence that you can be trusted. And over time, that evidence accumulates. It becomes undeniable. It becomes the foundation of everything else. But here is where people get tripped up. They think that once they start, motivation will carry them through. They think that once they see some progress, it will get easier. But the truth is the opposite. The truth is that motivation fades. Excitement wears off. And the real test, the real measure of self-trust, is what you do when you do not feel like doing it, when you are tired, when you are busy, when you would rather do literally anything else. Because those are the moments that matter. Those are the moments that define who you are. And if you quit in those moments, if you give yourself permission to skip, to compromise, to lower your standards, you are not just failing at that one task. You are sending a message to yourself. You are saying, I cannot be trusted. My commitments mean nothing. And that message, that internal narrative, will follow you everywhere. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine waking up 1 year from now and realizing that you kept every promise you made to yourself, that you did not quit when it got hard, that you showed up day after day, even when you did not feel like it. How would that feel? How would it change the way you see yourself? How would it change the way you move through the world? Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up 1 year from now and realizing that nothing has changed, that you are still stuck in the same patterns, the same excuses, the same comfortable mediocrity. Which version of yourself do you want to become? Because here is the thing. Both of those futures are possible. Both of them exist right now as potential, and the only thing that determines which one you get is the choice you make today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Today, right now, in this moment, you either decide to trust yourself, to force yourself to become someone worthy of trust, or you do not. And if you do not, if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, for the right circumstances, for the ideal conditions, you will be waiting forever. Because those things do not exist. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. And the question is, what are you going to do with it? Now, let me address something that I know is going through your mind right now. You are thinking, but Dale, you do not understand my situation. You do not know what I am dealing with. You do not know the obstacles I face, the responsibilities I have, the limitations I am working with. And you are right. I do not know your specific circumstances, but I know human nature, and I know that every single person I have ever met, every single person who has achieved anything meaningful, faced obstacles. They faced doubt. They faced fear. They faced people who told them they could not do it. And they did it anyway. Not because they were special, not because they were lucky, but because they refused to let their circumstances define them. They refused to let their past determine their future. They refused to accept that who they were in that moment was all they could ever be. And that is the shift I am asking you to make. Stop identifying with your current limitations. Stop letting your past failures define your future possibilities. Stop using your circumstances as an excuse for inaction, because the truth, the uncomfortable truth, is that your circumstances are not the problem. The problem is that you have been using them as a shield, as a way to avoid the real issue, which is that you are afraid. Afraid of trying and failing. Afraid of looking foolish. Afraid of putting yourself out there and being rejected. Afraid of discovering that maybe, just maybe, you are not as capable as you want to believe. And so you hide behind your circumstances. You tell yourself that you would do it if only things were different. If only you had more time. If only you had more money. If only you had more support. But those are lies. Comfortable lies that protect you from having to face the truth, which is that you are capable of more than you are currently giving. I have worked with people who had every advantage in the world and did nothing with it. And I have worked with people who had every disadvantage you can imagine and built extraordinary lives. And the difference between them was not talent, not intelligence, not opportunity. It was belief. It was the willingness to bet on themselves even when no one else would. It was the courage to force themselves to become someone they could trust. And that is what I am asking of you. Not to be perfect, not to have it all figured out, but to start. To take one small step toward the person you know you could become, and then another, and then another, until one day you look back and realize that you are not the same person you were, that you have built something, that you have proven to yourself that you are capable, that you can be trusted. Because the goal is not just success in the traditional sense, the goal is not just money or status or recognition. The goal is self-respect. The goal is to be able to look yourself in the eye and know that you did not quit, that you did not take the easy way out, that you honored your own potential. And that, more than anything else, is what will bring you peace, not comfort, not convenience, but the deep, unshakable peace that comes from knowing you gave everything you had, that you became who you were meant to become. Now I want to talk about something that most people do not want to hear. The reality is that most people will not do this. Most people will watch this, nod along, maybe even feel inspired for a moment, and then go right back to their old patterns. They will tell themselves they will start tomorrow. They will tell themselves they need to think about it more. They will tell themselves they are not ready yet. And in doing so, they will prove once again that they cannot be trusted, that their word means nothing, that their potential will remain just that. Potential, unrealized, wasted. But you do not have to be most people. You can be the exception. You can be the one who decides right now in this moment that enough is enough, that you are done living below your capabilities, that you are done betraying your future self, that you are done waiting for permission, for perfect conditions, for someone else to believe in you. You can decide that from this moment forward, you will force yourself to trust yourself. Not because it is easy, not because you feel ready, but because it is the only way forward. Because the alternative of continuing down the path you are on, is unacceptable. And here is what will happen when you make that decision. At first it will be hard, harder than you expect, because you are breaking years, maybe decades of conditioning. You are fighting against every part of yourself that wants to stay comfortable, stay safe, stay small. And there will be moments when you want to quit, when you tell yourself it is not worth it, when you convince yourself that it is okay to lower your standards, to compromise, to give yourself a break. And those moments of temptation, are the most important moments of your life. Because in those moments, you are deciding who you are. You are deciding what kind of person you want to become. And if you push through, if you honor your commitment, even when every part of you wants to quit, you will discover something remarkable. You will discover that you are stronger than you thought, that you are more capable than you believed, that you can trust yourself, and once you have that, once you have earned that, nothing can take it from you. Over time, something else will happen. The things that used to feel impossible will start to feel manageable. The goals that used to intimidate you will start to excite you. The person you used to be will feel like a distant memory, and you will realize that you have changed, not because you tried to change, but because you forced yourself to become someone worthy of your own trust, someone who keeps their word, someone who does not quit when things get hard, someone who does not need external validation because they have something far more valuable, internal certainty, the unshakable knowledge that they are capable of handling whatever life throws at them, and that, more than anything else, is freedom. Not the freedom to do whatever you want, but the freedom to become whoever you want. The freedom to set a goal and know with absolute certainty that you will achieve it. Not because it will be easy, but because you have proven to yourself over and over again that you do not quit, that you do not back down, that you do not betray your own potential. So let me ask you again, who are you going to become? Not who you are today, not who you were yesterday, but who you could be if you stopped settling, if you stopped making excuses, if you stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started building the life you know you are capable of. Because that person exists. That version of you, the one who has their life together, the one who is confident and capable and fulfilled, is not some fantasy. It is a real possibility. But it will never become a reality unless you force yourself to trust that it can. Unless you take the first step, and then the next one, and then the next one, until one day you look in the mirror and realize that the person staring back at you is someone you respect, someone you trust, someone you are proud to be. Most people live their entire lives hoping things will get better, hoping they will wake up one day and magically feel motivated, hoping that someone will come along and save them, or fix them, or show them the way. But hope without action is just delusion. It is a comfortable lie that allows you to avoid responsibility. And the truth, the hard truth, is that no one is coming to save you. No one is going to force you to become better. No one is going to hand you the life you want. You have to build it. You have to earn it. You have to force yourself to become someone capable of living it. And that starts with trusting yourself, with proving to yourself, through action, through consistency, through relentless commitment, that you are capable of more. And I know that sounds daunting, I know it sounds like a lot, but here is the secret. You do not have to do it all at once. You do not have to transform overnight. You just have to start. You just have to take one small step, keep one small promise, do one hard thing, and then do it again and again and again, until it becomes who you are, until it becomes so ingrained in your identity that quitting is no longer an option, until you look at yourself and know, without a doubt, that you are someone who can be trusted, someone who keeps their word, someone who does not settle for less than they are capable of, because that is what this is really about, not achieving some external goal, not impressing other people, not even being successful in the traditional sense. It is about self-respect. It is about being able to live with yourself. It is about knowing that when you look back on your life, you will not have any regrets about the person you could have been. You will not wonder what might have happened if you had just tried. You will know. Because you did. Because you forced yourself to trust yourself. Because you became the person you were always meant to be. So stop waiting, stop making excuses, stop telling yourself that you will do it tomorrow or next week or next year. Start now, today, in this moment. Make one small commitment and keep it. Prove to yourself that you can be trusted. And then do it again and again and again until the person you see in the mirror is someone you respect, someone you trust, someone you are proud to be. Because that person, that version of you, is not some distant dream. It is a real possibility, but it will only become a reality if you force yourself to believe in it, if you force yourself to trust that you are capable of becoming more than you currently are, if you force yourself to act even when you do not feel ready, even when you are afraid, even when it is hard. And when you do, when you finally take that leap, when you finally decide that you are done living below your potential, something remarkable will happen. You will discover that the person you were afraid of becoming, the person you thought was out of reach, was inside you all along, waiting, hoping, believing that one day you would finally decide to trust yourself enough to let them out. And when you do, when you finally give yourself permission to become who you were meant to be, you will realize that this right here, was what you were searching for all along. Not success, not validation, not comfort, but the deep, unshakable peace that comes from knowing you became who you were meant to become, that you did not waste your potential, that you trusted yourself enough to find out who you really are. Think about that. Sit with it. Let it sink in. And then decide, because the choice is yours. It has always been yours, and it always will be. The only question is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep living the same life, telling yourself the same stories, making the same excuses? Or are you going to force yourself to trust the person you know you can become? The choice is yours. Choose wisely. And let me tell you something else that I have observed over all these years working with people. The ones who succeed, the ones who actually transform their lives, they all share one thing in common. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is not even intelligence. It is the willingness to feel uncomfortable, to sit in that space between who they are and who they want to become, and not run from it. Most people cannot handle that discomfort. The moment they feel it, the moment they feel that tension, that awkwardness, that sense of not belonging in their own skin, they retreat. They go back to what is familiar. They go back to their old patterns, their old habits, their old identity, because familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar growth. But here is what they do not realize. That discomfort, that tension they are running from, is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something is working. It is a sign that they are growing, that they are changing, that they are becoming someone new. And growth always feels uncomfortable. Always. There is no way around it. You cannot transform without discomfort. You cannot become a new person while clinging to your old identity. You have to let go. You have to step into the unknown. You have to trust that the person on the other side of that discomfort is worth the temporary pain of getting there. And this is where most people fail, not because they are not capable, but because they are not willing. They are not willing to endure the discomfort. They are not willing to feel awkward, to feel uncertain, to feel like an imposter in their own life. And so they give up before the transformation can complete itself. They quit right before the breakthrough. They turn back right before they reach the summit. And then they spend the rest of their lives wondering what might have been. I have seen this so many times it breaks my heart. I have watched brilliant people, talented people, people with so much potential, give up on themselves because they could not handle the discomfort of change. And the tragedy is not that they failed. The tragedy is that they never really tried. They dabbled, they experimented, they tested the waters, but they never fully committed. They never forced themselves to stay in the discomfort long enough to see what was on the other side. And because of that, they will never know what they were capable of. They will spend their lives with that quiet regret, that nagging question, that persistent whisper that asks, "What if I had just kept going?" But you do not have to be one of those people. You can be different. You can be the one who stays when everyone else quits, the one who pushes through when everyone else backs down, the one who trusts themselves enough to endure the discomfort of growth. And when you do that, when you force yourself to stay in that uncomfortable space, something remarkable happens. You start to realize that discomfort is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It is showing you where you need to grow. It is revealing the parts of yourself that you have been avoiding. It is giving you the opportunity to become stronger, more capable, more resilient. And the more you practice sitting in that discomfort, the more you practice staying when your instinct is to run, the more confident you become. Not because the discomfort goes away, but because you learn that you can handle it. You learn that discomfort will not kill you. That uncertainty will not destroy you. That feeling like an imposter is just part of the process. And once you learn that, once you internalize that truth, you become unstoppable. Because there is nothing left to be afraid of. You have seen the worst of it. You have felt the full weight of discomfort and survived. And now you know with absolute certainty that you can handle whatever comes next. But here is the thing that most people miss. Self-trust is not just about proving you can do hard things. It is about proving you can do hard things consistently. Anyone can have a good day. Anyone can push themselves when they are motivated, when they are excited, when they have something to prove. But what about the days when you do not feel motivated? What about the days when you are tired, when you are stressed, when you just want to give up? Those are the days that matter. Those are the days that define who you are, because anyone can show up when it is easy, but only someone you can trust shows up when it is hard. And this is where the real work begins. Building the kind of self-trust that lasts, the kind that does not disappear the moment things get difficult, the kind that does not require motivation or inspiration or external validation, the kind that simply is, that exists as a core part of your identity, that you carry with you everywhere you go. And the only way to build that kind of trust is through repetition, through showing up day after day even when you do not want to, especially when you do not want to, because those are the deposits that matter most. Those are the moments when you are proving to yourself that you can be trusted, that your word means something, that you are someone who follows through. And over time, as you keep making those deposits, as you keep showing up, something shifts. You stop needing external motivation. You stop waiting for the right mood. You stop making excuses. You just do what you said you would do. Not because it is fun, not because it is easy, but because that is who you are. That is what you do. You are someone who keeps their promises. You are someone who follows through. You are someone who can be trusted. And once you have that, once you have built that foundation, everything else becomes possible. Because here is what I have learned. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not extraordinary people. They are ordinary people who made themselves trustworthy, who proved to themselves over and over again that they would do what they said they would do. And because of that, they were able to set bigger goals, take bigger risks, attempt bigger challenges, not because they were fearless, but because they trusted themselves to handle whatever came next. They trusted themselves to find a way. They trusted themselves to keep going even when things got hard. And that trust, that unshakable belief in their own capability, is what allowed them to achieve things that other people thought were impossible. So let me ask you a question. What would you attempt if you truly trusted yourself? If you knew with absolute certainty that you would follow through, that you would not quit, that you would do whatever it takes, what would you try? What goal would you set? What dream would you chase? Because I promise you, the only thing holding you back is not your circumstances, not your resources, not your abilities. It is your lack of self-trust. It is the quiet belief buried deep inside you that you cannot be trusted, that you will quit, that you will fail, that you are not capable. And that belief, that toxic, limiting belief, is keeping you stuck. It is keeping you small. It is keeping you from ever discovering what you are truly capable of. And the only way to overcome it is to prove it wrong, to force yourself to do the things you are afraid of, to keep the promises you make to yourself, to show up even when you do not feel like it, to build through action, through consistency, through relentless commitment, the kind of self-trust that cannot be shaken. And I am not going to lie to you. It will be hard. There will be days when you want to quit, days when you question whether it is worth it, days when you tell yourself that it does not matter, that no one will know if you skip, that you can always start again tomorrow. And in those moments, you will have a choice. You can listen to that voice, give in to that weakness, and prove to yourself once again that you, once, cannot be trusted. Or you can push through, honor your commitment, and prove to yourself that you are stronger than you thought, that you are capable of more, that you are someone who keeps their word. And every time you make that choice, every time you choose growth over comfort, commitment over convenience, you are changing. You are becoming someone new, someone better, someone you can trust. And that person, that version of you, is who you were always meant to be. Not the comfortable version, not the safe version, but the version that looks fear in the eye and keeps going anyway. The version that does not need permission or validation or perfect conditions. The version that simply decides what they want and goes after it, relentlessly, unapologetically, courageously. Because that is what self-trust gives you, not the absence of fear, but the courage to act in spite of it, not the absence of doubt, but the strength to move forward anyway, not the absence of obstacles, but the resilience to overcome them. And when you have that, when you have built that foundation of trust within yourself, nothing can stop you, not failure, not rejection, not setbacks, because you know deep in your bones that you will find a way, that you will keep going, that you will not give up on yourself. And that, more than anything else, is what separates the people who live extraordinary lives from the people who live ordinary ones. Not talent, not luck, not privilege, but the willingness to trust themselves enough to try, to fail, to get back up, to try again, to keep going when everyone else would quit, to bet on themselves when no one else would, to force themselves to become someone worthy of their own trust. So, I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you ready? Are you ready to stop making excuses? Are you ready to stop waiting for the perfect moment? Are you ready to stop betraying your own potential? Are you ready to force yourself to trust the person you can become? Because if you are, if you truly are, then everything changes. Right now, in this moment. You decide that from this point forward, you will be someone who keeps their word, someone who follows through, someone who does not quit. And you prove it not by talking about it, not by thinking about it, but by doing it. One small step at a time, one promise kept at a time, one hard thing at a time, until the person you see in the mirror is someone you respect, someone you trust, someone you are proud to be. And when you get there, when you finally build that foundation of self-trust, you will look back on this moment and realize that this was when everything changed. This was when you stopped being a victim of your circumstances and started being the creator of your life. This was when you stopped hoping things would get better and started making them better. This was when you stopped waiting for someone to save you and started saving yourself. And that is freedom. That is power. That is what it means to truly live. Not just exist, not just survive, but to live fully, courageously, authentically as the person you were always meant to be. So go. Start now. Make one small promise to yourself and keep it, and then do it again tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that, until it becomes who you are, until trusting yourself is not something you have to work at. It is just who you are, and when you get there, when you become that person, everything you ever wanted will be within reach, not because it became easier, but because you became stronger, you became capable, you became someone you can trust, and that, more than anything else, is worth fighting for.